Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Sweeping Six. Today I will be reviewing none other than the Seiko Presage SARY082 Cocktail Time. It's just a quick wristwatch check before we get into it. I'm wearing the Omega Semestra Pro 300M blue ceramic. I reviewed this watch on my last video, so please go check it out and don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Alright, so let's get into this bad boy here. It's the SARY082 is the reference number. It's part of the Presage line from Seiko. I really like this watch. I don't know if I've fallen in love with it yet. I only had it for a short amount of time and only wore it for probably less than 10 times. But I was really like interested in buying this watch just because it looked like a super fancy, beautiful looking dress watch with great details to it for under $500. And I think I picked this one up for even less than $200. Although it was pre-owned, it was in practically perfect condition. I mean, if you really look at it closely, you don't really see any real blemishes or scratches or nicks or anything like that. It looks almost brand new. I definitely fell in love with the beauty of this watch, at least just looking at it. If you look closely here, you've got a sort of a sunburst effect on the dial there, and the applied markers, and we do have a power reserve, which tells you how much remaining power you have in your wind there. And I can show you how this sort of moves as you wind the watch. See that little indicator right there going up? It's got a 40-hour power reserve, so it'll last you for a good time. Keep it on the wrist. I mean, you hardly will ever have to wind it. This is probably my favorite watch out of the entire Presage line of watches, just because of the details behind it. And I really fell in love with the brown and rose gold, the brown leather strap and the rose gold case combo. I really like the sunburst effect, as I mentioned, and then the indices, how sharp they are, but just very symmetrical looking piece. And then the power reserve was a cool add-on to it that I haven't really seen in the other Presages. And another thing is that I think it's called a date column or a date wheel there, to tell you what the date is, obviously. Unfortunately, today is the 30th, so the minute and hour hands sort of cover that up. You don't really see it. So sometimes when it's like between like 4 and 7 o'clock, sometimes the hands will cover that wheel there, so you might not actually be able to tell what exactly the date is, but that's okay, because you can just kind of duck underneath and see that it's at 30. It's made in Japan, just like pretty much all Seikos as far as I know. Great value for the price. The case is 40.5 millimeters. It's a pretty good size in terms of width. It sits pretty well on my wrist, and my wrist is pretty small, I'd say on the smaller side. I think the leather band is pretty decent. I'm not too crazy with the leather bands that Seiko makes, but I think this one kind of holds up. It folds, and usually it actually, and sorry to put a bad taste in your mouth, but it kind of folds like some old people's skin, if that's not too offensive there. But it does fold a little bit weird, so I don't know if it's genuine leather or what, but I mean, it holds up. It's relatively sturdy compared to some other Seiko leather bands that I've seen before. So, I mean, you are getting what you pay for, but again, I think for a sub $500 watch, this is definitely worth the money. So just take a look at the back here. The strap says it's a calf strap, original from Seiko. It is pretty comfortable underneath here on the wrist. And the deployment clasp there. It's a little bit confusing. Not everyone is familiar with these kind of clasps, but they kind of like open up at the tail where you sort of stick the band in, and then the little pin kind of goes into the hole and it kind of locks in from the bottom there, and then you just kind of like fold it over as you would with any other deployment clasp. So a little bit different for some folks, but and it's probably not the most comfortable clasp, I'd say. Like sometimes when I wear it, this sort of like section here, or sometimes a clasp sort of, you know, kind of gets you on your wrist there, but it's not terribly uncomfortable. That'd be one of the few only gripes that I have with this watch. And then we've got a see-through case back there where you can see all the mechanisms, all the stuff going on. 29 jewels. It's not the most beautiful, but not the ugliest either, but I definitely do like displayed case backs. I'd say my biggest gripe about this watch though is probably the height of it. It's not a thin watch. I generally like thinner watches when it comes to dressier pieces with leather straps, especially. And usually with leather strap watches, I wear them with like suits and dress clothes and stuff like that. So I would like to have the pieces sort of kind of slip under the cuff of my shirt. This one doesn't always, depending on how tight your shirt is. I don't seem to have too much trouble, but again, I definitely would like this to be significantly shorter and not so tall. I think that would kind of be the cherry on top for this watch, which they kind of missed out on, but I'd say it's like a 4.5 or 4 out of 5 stars maybe. Get a wrist shot going here. I have to use my right hand because I'm wearing the Omega on my left, but it's got a relatively small wrist, so it doesn't look too bad, but and I think under the right lighting, this watch will really stand out, and you'll be able to see how it reflects light really well. I think on the indices especially, but it definitely does look like a classy dress watch, and I think the price really can't be beat. I mean, you can find this for sure under $500, and if you go pre-owned like I did, I mean, it's not hard to find it in really good condition because it doesn't seem like it's not really prone to getting scratches. I noticed. I don't think I've gotten a scratch on this bad boy since I've gotten it, so it's definitely worth the money in my opinion. Just if you can get over the height of it, which isn't terrible, but again, not preferred. Doesn't really have any lume on there, unfortunately, so you can't really see it in the dark, but that's all right because I don't really try and check the time in the dark so often. I think the strap is 20 millimeters. And there it is. That's my review of the Seiko Presage Cocktail Time SARY082. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'll be reviewing some more wristwatches and hopefully sneakers sometime soon, so check me out.